Takeoff was in Houston, Quavo, for what was supposed to be a celebration. Jay Prince's son, Jazz Prince, was being honored with Jazz Prince Day by the city of Houston. Quavo and Jazz were close friends, so Quavo and Takeoff came down to support. That night, they ended up at a bowling alley with Jay Prince Jr., Mike Prince, and other Rap-A-Lot affiliates. According to the Prince family, everything was cool. They were having a good time, smoking, talking, just chilling. Then they went outside, and a dice game started. Here's where the stories start to diverge. According to the Prince family, a man named Willie Bland, who was part of Quavo and Takeoff's crew, started an altercation. They claimed Bland attacked a smaller guy in their crew with a pistol, hitting him in the head. This sparked a shooting, and in the chaos, Takeoff was hit and killed. But here's what makes people suspicious, gang. A video surfaced showing Jay Prince Jr. walking past Takeoff's body right after the shooting. People were outraged, asking why he didn't stop to help, why he...
Cash rules everything around me. Green get the deal, y'all. Dollar bill, y'all.
Themselves. They claimed Jay Prince Jr.
Cash rule everything around me.
To wash blood off his hands, and that
dollar bill, y'all.
Trying to help. They said the video only showed 3 seconds of a much longer situation. They also claimed that after the shooting, Jay Prince Jr. and Mike Prince
Queen get the money.
3 hours, making sure
dollar bill, y'all.
According to them, they never abandoned Quavo or Takeoff, but the public wasn't buying that. Too many things didn't add up. If the Prince family controls Houston, if checking in with them is supposed to keep you safe, then how did Takeoff end up dead while under their protection? And here's the most damning part. Willie Bland, the man they're blaming for starting everything, gave a statement to police. In that statement, he said that Jazz Prince gave him the gun he used that night. Let me repeat that. The gun used in the altercation that led to Takeoff's death was allegedly provided by Jazz Prince. Now, Jay Prince tried to spin this as proof they weren't involved. Why would we give someone a gun and then try to rob them? He asked. But that's not the point, though. The point is that someone in their crew using a gun they provided started an altercation that got Takeoff killed. Jay Prince also said in interviews that he wished the bullet had hit Willie Bland instead of Takeoff, calling Bland the root of everything. But Bland was part of Quavo's crew, someone they were supposed to be hosting and protecting. The whole situation exposed the checking-in system for what it really is, a false sense of security that benefits the Prince family more than it protects the artists. And it gets worse. After Takeoff's death, Jay Prince started going after Offset, Takeoff's cousin and fellow Migos member. In the $1 million worth of game interview, Jay Prince said to Offset, "You wasn't really right there with Takeoff when he was alive. So for you to take these positions that you're taking, I got people everywhere. So I hear all kinds of things. I'm just going to say this to you. Don't ever put me in no position where I have to defend myself. That wouldn't be healthy for you." That's a threat, fam. A direct threat to a grieving family member of someone who died while under Jay Prince's supposed protection. The audacity of that is insane. Offset fired back on Instagram, and Jay Prince responded with a video claiming he had helped Offset in the past, that he stepped in when Lil Baby's 4PF crew allegedly jumped Offset in 2020, and that he protected Cardi B when she had issues with Crips in LA. Cardi B, Offset, and Whack 100 all called cap on Jay Prince's version of events, but the damage was done. Jay Prince had shown that even in death, even when someone dies under your watch, he'll still try to control the narrative and intimidate anyone who questions him. These 3 cases, Duke the Jeweler, Earl Perry, and Takeoff, represent a pattern. People connect with the Prince family in Houston and they end up dead. Maybe it's coincidence. Maybe it's just the dangerous nature of the streets. Or maybe, just maybe, the protection being offered isn't really protection at all. Now let's talk about how Jay Prince turned fear and intimidation into a multi-million-dollar business model. Because that's really what this is about, gang. It's not just about respect or street cred. It's about money. Lots of it. Jay Prince has his hands in everything. Rap-A-Lot Records, boxing management, cattle range, condom companies, real estate, and various other ventures. But the common thread through all of it is leverage. And that leverage comes from his reputation as someone you don't want to cross. Let's start with how Jay Prince allegedly used intimidation to get better deals in the music industry. These stories come from his own book and from interviews he's done over the years. So this isn't speculation. This is him bragging about it. When Rap-A-Lot first got a distribution deal with Geffen Records, everything seemed cool. They were working on releasing a deluxe version of the Ghetto Boys album, Grip It, on that other level. But 2 months before the release date, Geffen tried to back out, saying the album was too violent and dangerous and they wouldn't distribute it. Jay Prince wasn't having that. According to him, he had some people get beside the Geffen executives and put the phone to his ear. After this talk, Geffen released Rap-A-Lot from the contract. That's intimidation, fam. That's using the threat of violence to get out of a business deal. Then there's the story of his original business partner, Cliff Blodgett. Cliff was there from the beginning. He brought the equipment, helped set up the studio, ran the day-to-day operations. But when Jay Prince looked at the books and saw the company was losing money, he decided to take over. Cliff disagreed, saying Jay Prince
Yo, what's good, guy?
run the company.
You
They were
all?
at a crossroads. So what did Jay Prince do? He bought Cliff out. But knowing Jay Prince's reputation, you have to wonder if that buyout was truly voluntary or if Cliff felt he had no choice.
You in a
The
pool ground right now?
The situation was even more blatant. Rap-A-Lot had a 60-40
That's good,
distribution
boy.
deal with Priority taking 40% of all revenue. Jay
Huh?
Prince wanted a better split, but Priority refused, saying the contract was the contract. So Jay Prince waited outside the Priority Records
not
office until he knew the executive, Brian Turner, was in the building. He called him and told him that some of his guys had been living off the money Rap-A-Lot was generating. And if they were upset because Priority was taking half, these guys had Brian's home address.
Carry again, last fish in the park? Yeah.
The contract within an hour.
Oh, let me try to
bad
get somebody
things were
else.
gonna happen. Within 15 minutes, Rap-A-Lot.
What you want? What kind of bills you want, bro?
That's extortion, gang. Textbook extortion. Later, when Jay Prince went back to Priority for a new deal, he lied and said he had a standing offer from Warner Brothers, which had actually fallen through. He used this fake leverage to get Priority to drop their cut from 40%
That's
down to
611.
18%. That's fraud and intimidation combined.
That's
This
it.
story
What's
perfectly
your
illustrates
overall
how
is?
Jay Prince operates in the shadows and then strikes when it's most profitable. Jay Prince had signed a producer named Seven to Rap-A-Lot.
Nick, where you at, guy?
Irv Gotti, who was running Murder Inc. at the time, heard some of Seven's beats.
All right, come on, let's go to the park.
But Irv didn't know that Jay Prince owned Seven's publishing. Jay Prince knew what was happening. He knew Seven was producing tracks for Murder Inc. for artists like Ashanti, Ja Rule, and Mary J. Blige. But he didn't say anything. He just let it happen. Seven ended up producing
That's not a good boy bill, right?
Murder Inc.'s early catalog. All those hits, all those platinum records. And only after all the songs were recorded, released, and making money did Jay Prince make a call. Somebody owes me some money, Jay Prince said. Because he owned Seven's publishing, he was entitled to a cut of every song Seven produced. Irv Gotti had no choice but to pay up. Chris Gotti, Irv's brother, recalled flying to Houston to meet Jay Prince for the first time to sort out the situation. That's when he got the warning about the ranch, saw the weapons on the wall, and realized he was dealing with someone operating on a completely different level. It was a brilliant move from a business standpoint, but it was also shady as hell. Jay Prince could have told Irv up front that he owned Seven's publishing. They could have negotiated a fair deal from the beginning. But instead, he waited until Murder Inc. was locked in, until they had no choice but to pay whatever he demanded. That's the Jay Prince business model. Create a situation where people owe you, then collect when they can't say no. Jay Prince's biggest financial win came from discovering Drake, but even that situation is shadier than most people realize. Jay Prince's son, Jazz Prince, discovered Drake on MySpace in 2007. Drake was a relatively unknown Canadian rapper at the time, but Jazz saw potential. He wanted his dad to sign Drake to Rap-A-Lot, but Jay Prince wasn't feeling the music at first because Drake was singing and rapping, which wasn't common at the time. So Jazz came up with another one. He was on tour with Lil Wayne at the time, so he pitched the idea of starting a joint venture label with Wayne and signing Drake to that. Jazz told Wayne he had $1 million to invest. Lil Wayne heard Drake freestyle over his A Milli beat and was immediately sold. They started working on a deal. But here's where it gets messy. The way it was supposed to work, Drake would sign to a joint venture between Lil Wayne and Jazz Prince, and they'd split the profits 50-50. But while the paperwork was being finalized, Drake was blowing up fast. Songs were hitting the charts. The buzz was growing exponentially. Then suddenly, Jazz Prince was kicked off Lil Wayne's tour. No explanation. Just a plane ticket home. Lil Wayne's manager had booked the flight without warning. Jay Prince felt something was wrong, so he reached out to Birdman, the head of Cash Money Records. Birdman told him everything would be handled fairly, that they'd make sure Jazz got paid. But months went by with no payment. So Jay Prince reached out again, and Birdman sent $1 million as a good faith payment. Then more months passed, and Jay Prince demanded payment again. Another $1 million came through. But Jay Prince knew he was owed way more than $2 million. Drake was becoming...
I seen the press. Well, I seen the press, guy.
So Jay Prince did what he does best. He conducted an audit of Cash Money's books. and filed
Why
a
you say I
massive
seen the
lawsuit.
press?
The lawsuit revealed that Drake was signed to Lil Wayne's Young Money, which was under Cash Money, but he was also signed to Aspire Music Group, a company that Jazz Prince owned a portion of. The deal entitled Aspire to 33% of all of Drake's advances and net profits. Cash Money tried to argue that their deal was with Aspire, not with Jazz Prince personally, and if Aspire hadn't been paid, that wasn't their problem. But the audit showed that Cash Money had never paid Aspire either. The lawsuit settled out of court, with Cash Money paying Aspire and Jazz Prince $11 million. But think about that, gang. Drake has made hundreds of millions of dollars over his career. If Jazz Prince is entitled to 33% of Drake's net profits, that $11 million
Yeah, join up. Come get on the court.
Did Jay Prince settle for less than he was owed? Or did he use other forms of leverage to get additional benefits that aren't public? We may never know. But what we do know is that Jay Prince turned his son's discovery of Drake into millions of dollars, and he did it by being willing to go to war with Cash Money if necessary. Jay Prince's intimidation tactics extend beyond
come on, Hugo, come on.
The world of boxing, where he managed Floyd Mayweather Jr. during the early part of his career. Jay Prince got into boxing management in the late 90s. His first target was Mike Tyson, who was one of the biggest names in the sport. Jay Prince set up a meeting with Tyson, and according to Jay Prince, Tyson agreed to let him join his management team. But the next day, Tyson's phone number was changed and Jay Prince couldn't reach him. Jay Prince believes Tyson's then manager, Shelly Finkel, pulled the plug because he didn't want to cut Jay Prince in on the money. However, while meeting with Tyson, Jay Prince met a young boxer who gave him his contact info. That boxer was Floyd Mayweather Jr., who at the time was already a champion in his division. Jay Prince and Floyd worked together for 4 years, and Jay Prince was instrumental in building Floyd's brand and negotiating big money fights. But when Jay Prince's contract was up, Floyd decided not to renew. He wanted to move on and work with other people. That didn't sit well with Jay Prince. And according to Bob Arum, the legendary boxing promoter, things got violent. Arum told a story about getting a call that there was a disturbance at his gym. When he arrived, he found that some people had come in with baseball bats and proceeded to break a couple of heads of people in Mayweather's camp. The gym was splattered with blood. Floyd came to Arum's office the next day and said, Prince wants his money from the fight that's coming up. Arum asked if he should write a letter of credit, but Floyd said,
well, let's hit let's go ahead.
So Arum wrote a check for $600,000, which was Jay Prince's percentage of Floyd's purse as his former manager. Arum said he made it a contract with Jay Prince's lawyer, and Jay Prince got paid. When asked about the incident, Arum said Floyd was afraid. He clarified that he didn't know if Floyd was afraid of just doing the right thing. But the implication was clear. People got beaten with baseball bats, and Floyd paid up immediately. That's the Jay Prince effect, gang. Even one of the greatest boxers of all time, a man who's never been afraid of anyone in the ring, allegedly felt he had no choice but to pay when Jay Prince came calling. One of the most fascinating aspects of Jay Prince's operation is that he doesn't always work in the shadows. Sometimes he makes public threats, and somehow he never faces consequences for it. Let's break down some of the most notable examples. In 2014, rumors surfaced that Diddy had slapped Drake during a confrontation outside of Miami. The beef was allegedly over the song.
Come on, bro. You gotta run faster, bro.
According to TMZ,
bro, why would you get on, bro?
Had given the beat to both Diddy and Drake.
Play with you.
Diddy sat on it for 8 months without recording a verse. So Drake just dropped the song himself. It became a massive hit. Diddy was allegedly furious that Drake had stolen his beat. When Diddy saw Drake at the club, he allegedly walked up to him and said, "You'll never disrespect me again," and threw a punch. Now, Diddy is a legend in the game. He built Bad Boy Records, discovered Biggie, and has been a major force in hip-hop for decades. He's also rumored
to we would built your ass how you try to pull up on me, gang. I would built your ass.
Did it publicly, but not Jay Prince. He dropped a recorded message called Courtesy Call and said, "Let me put these bullying vibes on notice by letting them know that Drake
Bro, why did it make me back up like that?
Put his hands on my family opens the doors for his family to be touched. You reap what you sow."
Oh, wrong person.
Not even there. Jay Prince was saying that if Diddy touched Drake, then Diddy's family could be touched. That's mob talk. That's the kind of thing that would normally get someone investigated or arrested, but nothing happened to Jay Prince. And Diddy, he backed down. The beef with Drake eventually fizzled out, and Diddy never publicly responded to Jay Prince's threat. Bun B, a Houston legend who's known Jay Prince for decades, explained
this man cheating and on him running back and forth.
A lot of people look at it as he's threatening people and this and that, but it's just statements. If you're wrong, make the situation right. Everybody feels
that's not my man. I'm fucking man.
But I don't see it going that far. In other
There
words,
you go,
Jay
take a
Prince
two.
pays, people listen.
Bro, stop passing the ball, guy. You man go take a two, knowing we need three.
Is enough to make even the biggest names in the industry fall in line.
Look at this shit.
In 2021, Drake and Kanye West have been going back and forth for years. Subliminal dissing, public shots, real tension between two of the biggest artists in the world. Then suddenly, a video surfaced of Kanye West standing next to Jay Prince, reading a message asking Drake to squash the beef and come together for a benefit concert. This is Ye and Jay Prince, Kanye said, looking uncomfortable. I'm making this video to address the ongoing back and forth between myself and Drake. Both me and Drake have taken shots at each other, and it's time to put it to rest. Now, Kanye is not the type of person to back down from anything. He's gone at everyone from George W. Bush to Taylor Swift to his own record label. But in this video, he looked nervous, stiff, like he was reading a hostage statement. Joe Budden and others in the hip-hop community started speculating that maybe the apology wasn't as voluntary as it looked, because when Jay Prince makes a call, you either answer or you deal with the consequences. The fact that Kanye, one of the most stubborn and prideful artists in the history of music, was standing next to Jay Prince reading an apology to Drake spoke volumes. Jay Prince had brokered peace between two superstars, but the way he did it left people wondering if it was really peace or just compliance. When Megan Thee Stallion was trying to break free from her first record deal with 1501 Certified Entertainment, run by former baseball player Carl Crawford, things got ugly fast. Megan accused the label of blocking her music releases and trying to control her career. She wanted out of the contract and she was willing to fight for it in court. That's when Jay Prince's name came up. Carl Crawford brought in Jay Prince to apply pressure and back him up. Court documents mentioned Jay Prince and described him as using strong-arm intimidation tactics. At one point, Jay Prince made a public statement that many interpreted as a physical threat toward Megan. The exact wording isn't clear, but the message was received. Megan was going up against not just 1501, but also Jay Prince.
Bro, I don't have those there, gang. I never had a Zen, gang. Get out my chat talking about what happened to my Zen.
Even when it's not his label, not his artist, not his money directly on the line, he'll step in if there's an opportunity to exert influence.
Man, talking about what happened to my Zen in the chat.
6ix9ine was at the height of his trolling powers. He was going to different cities, talking.
Don't worry, I'm gonna get on lock. Hey, Ray, did you want to play point?
He tried to attend Jay Prince Jr.'s birthday party in Houston. He was kicked out by Jay Prince's youngest son, Baby J.
I get my lock.
6ix9ine was not welcome. Rumors said 6ix9ine wouldn't check in with Jay Prince, and that's why he was banned. Later, when 6ix9ine was testifying against his old crew, he told the court that he was also banned from performing at SXSW by the Rap-A-Lot. He also claimed that he brought Rap-A-Lot affiliates Scumlord, which was a wild thing to admit in federal court. Jay Prince responded on Instagram, "I'm hearing lies he's telling under oath about robbing me or representatives of Rap-A-Lot. Let me just make myself clear. If him or any of those clowns were to try to rob me or anyone from the Rap-A-Lot family, bad news would have beat them home." Again, a public threat. And again, no consequences for Jay Prince. The 6ix9ine situation is interesting because 6ix9ine testified against multiple people and helped put them in prison. But even he was afraid of getting on Jay Prince's bad side. Even with federal protection, 6ix9ine knew better than to push too hard against the Prince family. Here's the thing that's wild about all of this, gang. Everything I've told you so far, all these stories, all these allegations, they're not secrets. Jay Prince has talked about most of this stuff in interviews and in his book. Other artists have hinted at it. Industry insiders know what's going on. But nobody speaks out. Nobody publicly calls Jay Prince out for extortion or intimidation. Why? Because they're scared. Yuckmouth, a former Rap-A-Lot affiliate, is one of the few people who's been willing to speak on what allegedly goes on behind closed doors at the label. In an interview with DJ Vlad, Yuckmouth said, artists was getting fawned up. I ain't gonna name what artists. They was getting fawned up, like physically. If you go against the grain, man, it's gonna be some sub. When Vlad asked if he meant physically, Yuckmouth confirmed, physically. Like, if you go against the grain, man, it's gonna be some sub. That's a former artist.
Join up with.
Getting beaten up if they stepped out of line. That's not normal record label business, fam. That's organized crime tactics. But even Yuckmouth wouldn't name it. He wouldn't give specific examples.
I get on big. I'll let y'all run.
He's still afraid of the consequences. Remember the story about Chris Gotti flying to Houston to meet Jay Prince? His people in Houston warned him not to go to the ranch because people don't leave his ranch. That's the reputation Jay Prince has built. Whether it's true or not almost doesn't matter at this point because the perception is the reality. People believe that if you cross J. Prince, bad things will happen to you. And when everyone believes that, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Nobody speaks out, so there's no collective pushback. Nobody files charges, so there's no legal accountability. Nobody in the industry stands up to him, so his power only grows. The most recent example of this is what's happening with Offset right now. After Takeoff's death, Offset has been one of the few people willing to publicly push back against J. Prince's narrative. When J. Prince went on the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast and made veiled threats toward Offset, Offset responded on Instagram. He didn't back down. He called out the inconsistencies in J. Prince's story. But immediately, people in the hip-hop community started worrying about Offset's safety. Not because Offset did anything wrong, but because everyone knows what happened with J. Prince. There were even fake news stories claiming Offset was
come on, gang, we got him around us.
J. Prince had been arrested for threatening him. The stories were false, but the fact that people believed him shows how real he is. An OG from Atlanta even made a public statement warning artists to stop checking in with J. Prince Jr. or anyone like him visiting Houston. These fake OGs don't care about your safety, he said. Get real security. Don't let them tell you a car is waiting or that they've got you. That's all cap. That's how you end up like Takeoff, dead over some nonsense that could have been avoided. That's a powerful statement, gang. An OG from another city telling artists not to trust the Prince family's protection. But even he didn't use his full name. Even he was careful about how he said it. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The music industry is complicit in allowing J. Prince to operate the way he does. Record labels know about the checking-in system. They know artists are being pressured, but they don't do anything about it because J. Prince has connections, he has power, and he's been in the game for 40 years. Promoters know that booking shows in Houston means dealing with the Prince family, but they don't push back because they want their events to go smoothly. Other artists know what's happening, but they stay quiet.
But how you tell us to get on the spot? Y'all lose again.
And law enforcement, as we've seen with the DEA investigation, they tried to take J. Prince down and failed. The agents who investigated him turned out to be corrupt. The case was shut down by the Attorney General. What message does that send to local police in Houston? It sends the message that J. Prince is untouchable. So the system perpetuates itself. J. Prince maintains power through fear and reputation. The industry enables him by staying silent. And artists continue to check in, continue to pay tribute, continue to give J. Prince and his sons money and respect, all because they're afraid of what might happen if they don't. Now let's talk about where all this money goes and how J. Prince has built a legitimate business empire on top of his allegedly illegitimate activities. At its peak, Rap-A-Lot Records was one of the most successful independent labels in hip-hop. They had the Ghetto Boys, Scarface, Bun B, Pimp C.
We're going to show you how it's done. Come get in there. Come get in there. We're going to show you how it's done. Look, gang.
The label has been responsible for numerous gold and platinum records over the years. We're talking about millions of dollars in revenue from album sales, streaming, touring, and merchandise. But in the last decade, Rap-A-Lot hasn't released any major hits. They signed YBN Not Here in 2018, but that didn't pan out. The label has been mostly quiet, living off catalog sales and past accomplishments. So if the label isn't generating new revenue, where is J. Prince's money coming from? That's the question people have been asking, and it's part of why the extortion allegations have gained traction. J. Prince owns an 1,100-acre ranch just outside of Houston where he raises Black Angus cattle and produces hay. According to J. Prince, the hay operation alone generates about $200,000.
If you sell the mile, I sell to yours, gang.
The cattle operation is equally profitable. That's potentially $400,000 a year from the ranch. That's good money, but it's not enough to maintain the lifestyle and influence that J. Prince has. J. Prince has managed several champion boxers over the years, including Floyd Mayweather Jr., Andre Ward, and Teofimo Lopez. Boxing management can be extremely lucrative. Managers typically take 10 to 33% of a fighter's purse, and championship fights can be worth millions of dollars. When J. Prince was managing Floyd Mayweather, even for just 4 years,
so you ought to get out here like you
Floyd
good
was already a champion, was fighting regularly. Those purses were in the millions, and J. Prince was getting his cut. But again, J. Prince hasn't been as active in boxing management in recent years. He still has fighters, but none at the level of Floyd Mayweather. J. Prince has also started a condom company called Strap. invested in real estate, and has various other business interests. He's even bought a private island, which shows the level of wealth he's accumulated over the years.
I'm doing I ain't no gang.
Legitimate income sources, it still doesn't fully explain the level of influence and power.
I ain't talking to you, bitch ass.
That's where the allegations of extortion, protection.
I need to get on guard. I need to get on guard.
Perhaps Jay Prince's most valuable asset is the Mob Ties brand itself. It stands for a movement of bosses together in elevated structure, according to Jay Prince. The brand has become synonymous with Houston hip hop.
Bro, what you wanna like? What you trying to talk for your stream or something, gang?
It's become a cultural phenomenon, and Jay Prince has monetized it brilliantly. There's Mob Ties clothing, Mob Ties events, Mob Ties affiliations. It's a brand that carries weight, and weight equals money in the hip hop industry. But the brand is also built on fear and reputation. It's built on the idea that if you're with Mob Ties, you're protected. And if you're against Mob Ties, you're in danger. That's not a legitimate business model.
Oh, that's on me.
A protection racket with good markets. Let's break down exactly how Jay Prince
shut the fuck up, little boy.
Because it's actually quite sophisticated if you look at it from a business perspective. First, you establish dominance in your territory. Jay Prince did this by being one of the first successful hip-hop entrepreneurs in Houston. He put the city on the map musically, which gave him cultural capital. He also allegedly used street tactics to eliminate competition and make it clear that he was the one in charge. The DEA investigation, the multiple
Wesley, give us a stop, man.
All of that contributed to building a reputation as someone you don't mess with. Next, you create a system that funnels money and influence to you. In Jay Prince's case, that system is checking in. By establishing the expectation that artists need to check in when they come to Houston, Jay Prince created a situation where he has access to every major artist who performs in the city. That access can be monetized in multiple ways, requiring artists to use security services connected to the Prince family, requiring artists to perform at venues connected to the Prince family, requiring artists to make appearances or give shout-outs that promote the Mob Ties brand, creating opportunities for business deals that benefit the Prince family. None of this is explicitly stated as extortion. It's all framed as building relationships and showing respect. But the underlying threat is always there. If you don't play ball, something bad might happen. The system only works if people believe there will be consequences for not following the rules. That's where the reputation for violence comes in. Whether Jay Prince and his sons are directly responsible for violence or not, the perception is that they are. And that perception is reinforced every time someone ends up dead or robbed after not checking in properly. Duke the Jeweler didn't have problems until after he was seen with Jay Prince Jr. Takeoff died while under the Prince family's protection. NBA Youngboy's house got broken into, and then Jay Prince returned his items. Each of these incidents reinforces the narrative. You need the Prince family's protection, and if you don't have it, bad things can happen. This is the genius part of the system. Jay Prince never explicitly says, pay me or I'll hurt you. He never directly threatens violence.
Niggas like even talking back to your ass. You want some attention so bad.
He talks about defending himself or about how bad news will beat you home. He frames everything as reactive rather than proactive. When something bad happens, he can always say it wasn't him, it was someone else. He was trying to help, he was trying to prevent it. There's always plausible deniability. And because he's built up so much goodwill in the community through charity work, through supporting local artists, through being a successful Black businessman, people are willing to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Bro, we don't have a bid, gang.
Established in one area, you expand it. Jay Prince has done this by having his sons take over day-to-day operations, which extends the family's reach, branching into other industries like boxing, where the same intimidation tactics can be used, building relationships with artists from other cities, influence beyond Houston, creating the Mob Ties brand, which allows him to franchise his reputation. It's a brilliant business model if you ignore the fact that it's allegedly built on extortion and intimidation. Now let's talk about who really pays the price for Jay Prince's alleged system of control. Because it's not just the artists who check in or the people who end up dead. The impact is much wider than that. Young artists coming up in Houston face an impossible choice. If they want to make it in the music industry, they need to build a buzz in their hometown first. But building a buzz in Houston means potentially coming into contact with the Prince family.
Come on, Ray. Just why you ain't get on, guy?
They refuse to check in and risk being shut out of opportunities or worse. It's a lose-lose situation for artists who just want to make music. And if they do check in, they're essentially giving up a piece of their independence and their earnings before they.
Bro, I'm gonna guard him.
That's
I'm gonna guard the
go
guard.
toward better production, better marketing, better opportunities. Instead, it's going to pay tribute to someone who didn't help them create their art. When artists from other cities come to Houston to perform, they're often told they need to check in for their own safety. But as we've seen with Takeoff, checking in doesn't guarantee safety.
I'm guarding the guard,
It just guarantees that the Prince family gets their cut. Artists end up paying for security they don't need, making appearances they don't want to make, and giving respect to people who haven't earned it, all because they're afraid of what might happen if they don't. That's not how the music industry should work. Artists should be able to perform anywhere without having to pay tribute to local power brokers.
Yeah.
Takeoff's family lost a son, a brother, a cousin. Duke the Jeweler's family lost a father, a husband, a
you gotta move. Y'all gotta move, bro. Hey, Hugo's, sit corner or something, yeah.
Has been in prison for over 20 years for a murder he may not have committed. These families are the real victims. They've lost people they love, and in many cases, they haven't gotten justice. The circumstances surrounding these deaths are murky. The investigations are questionable, and the people who might have answers aren't talking. Takeoff's mother has to live with the fact that her son died while supposedly under protection. She has to see Jay Prince and his sons on podcasts defending themselves, making threats toward her nephew Offset, and acting like they're the victims in all of this. That's not right, fam. That's not justice. Hip-hop culture as a whole suffers when this kind of behavior is allowed to continue.
Come on, y'all keep running across.
Beyond Houston. Now, you hear about it in L.A., in Atlanta, or Chicago, in every major city. Young artists think this is normal. They think it's just part of the game. They think you have to pay tribute to local OGs or risk getting hurt. But that's not what hip-hop was built on. Hip-hop was built on creativity, on competition, on taking the mic and proving you're the best. It wasn't built on extortion and intimidation. When we allow people like Jay Prince to operate unchecked, we're saying that power and fear are more important than talent and art. We're saying that it's okay to profit off of other people's creativity as long as you're scary enough. That's not the culture I want to be part of, and I don't think it's the culture most hip-hop fans want either. This is the question everyone asks. If Jay Prince has been doing all of this for 40 years, why hasn't he been charged with anything? The answer is complicated, but it comes down to a few key factors. And the biggest reason is that victims and witnesses don't cooperate with law enforcement. When you're dealing with someone who has Jay Prince's reputation, people are afraid to come forward. Even when something happens, even when there's a crime, people don't want to testify. They don't want to give statements. They don't want to be seen as snitches or cooperators. And without witnesses, without testimony, it's
almost impossible to build a
case. As I mentioned earlier, Jay Prince is very careful about how he operates. He doesn't make explicit threats that can be recorded and used against him in court. He speaks in generalities and implications. When he says something like, "Don't put me in a position where I have to defend myself," that's not technically a threat. It's a warning. And warnings aren't illegal. When bad things happen, there's always distance between Jay Prince and the actual act. He wasn't the one who broke into NBA Youngboy's house. He wasn't the one who shot Takeoff. He wasn't the one who robbed Duke the Jeweler. So even if prosecutors wanted to charge him, they'd have to prove that he ordered these things or that he was part of a conspiracy. And that's incredible.
No, he wasn't, gang. No, they wasn't, bro. Stop that cap. Stop the cap. Come on, B. Y'all gotta stay in y'all man, gang.
Chad Scott and Jack Schumacher were corrupt. They falsified records, coerced witnesses, and ran their own extortion schemes. If the people investigating Jay Prince were dirty, how can we trust any of the evidence they gathered? How can we trust any of the cases they built? This corruption has tainted everything related to Jay Prince's legal troubles. It's given him a legitimate defense. He was being targeted by corrupt cops who were trying to frame him. And honestly, based on what we know about Scott and Schumacher, that defense might be true. Jay Prince might have been unfairly targeted, at least in some cases, but that doesn't mean he's innocent of everything. It just means the evidence is... Come here. Powerful people.
Good shot.
The rumor about the $200,000 donation...
Yeah, I'm trying to beat the dog shit out too. Like, you sorry as hell. Oh God, you sorry as hell. You sorry as hell. Give me the ball. Give me the ball like Anna right here.
When you have friends in...
Don't double me. Move your bitch ass out of the way.
Or even federal law enforcement to come after him. And Jay Prince has been smart about building these connections. He does charity work and supports local causes.
We're good.
Businessman who's giving back to his community. That public.
We're good. That was on me.
It can be framed as targeting a pillar of the community. If prosecutors
Hold up, come back. Come
on,
on, man, come back.
designed to prosecute organized crime. But RICO cases are incredibly complex and expensive. You need to prove a pattern of criminal activity. You need multiple witnesses. You need extensive documentation. And as we've seen with recent RICO cases in hip hop, like the
Come on, man, good D. Come here, gang. Come here.
Your question. These cases
take,
take
man.
years to build and years to prosecute. Law enforcement
I gotta get out the court with these
resources or the political will to pursue a RICO case against Jay Prince, especially given his connections and his public image. You mentioned Big U in your question, and I think it's worth comparing the two because there are a lot of similarities. Big U, whose real name is Eugene Henley Jr., was recently hit with a RICO case for allegedly running an extortion scheme.
Shut up, bitch. Get the fuck out of the court, hoe ass nigga. Yo, sorry ass. Shut up. You suck, nigga. Yo, bitch ass nigga. Shut your bitch ass up, nigga. Take your mama, come give me some head, fuck, nigga. Shut up, nigga. You my son, hoe. Shut your bitch ass up, nigga. Shut your bitch ass up, nigga. You a hoe, nigga. You a hoe, nigga. You and your whole team, nigga. You and your whole team, nigga. And your mama on crack, nigga. Shut up, bitch ass nigga. Fuck, nigga. Your bitch ass up, nigga. Your little shitty ass. Wash your damn ass, shit bastard.
His use of intimidation and his alleged extortion.
Get me out this court. They ain't gonna give me the ball. Come on now. Stop playing, man.
Was actually Big U's mentor. That Big U learned the checking in system from Jay Prince and implemented it in LA. If that's true, and if Big U is now facing RICO charges for doing exactly what Jay Prince has been doing for 40 years, then the question becomes, is Jay Prince next? The feds have shown they're willing to go after hip-hop figures using RICO laws. Young Thug, Gunna, Big U, and others have all been hit with these charges in recent years. Jay Prince has to be looking at these cases and wondering if he's next on the list. And maybe that's why he's been more vocal lately, why he's been doing interviews.
So they thought they were good, man. How you get them out the court?
Public opinion on his side. He wants to be seen as a legitimate businessman who's being unfairly targeted, not as a criminal who's been running an extortion racket for decades. To be fair, let's look at this from Jay Prince's perspective and consider what his defense would be.
Right, that's how you do it, yeah.
He's built multiple legitimate businesses over the years.
I said, that's how you do it. That's how you get them little bums out the court.
Real estate. He'd point to his tax returns.
Had to go crazy just now.
His contracts. He'd say that he's been successful because he's smart, because he works hard, and because he saw opportunities that others didn't. Jay Prince would point to the DEA investigation and the fact that the agents who investigated it were later convicted of corruption. He'd argue that he was unfairly targeted because he was a successful black man in a white-dominated industry. And honestly, there's probably some truth to that. The DEA investigation does seem to have been compromised by the corruption of Scott and Schumacher. Jay Prince would argue that the checking-in system is just about building relationships and showing respect. He'd say that when artists come to Houston and connect with them, it's because they want to, not because they have to.
They trying about a court, boy-ass niggas.
With other major artists, and say that these are genuine friendships, not business arrangements based on fear. When it comes to the deaths of
Create your own sunshine and embrace a gradually deeper tan daily with Jergens Natural Glow.
Love that
Dear
for
Acorns,
Popeye.
I was 19 when I got pregnant. I worked 3 jobs at once to keep us afloat. I never thought to invest until I found.
Come on, now y'all know how I do.
Karen Thompson. This is my Acorns potential.
Thank you, gang. I like that little dude, man. I like that little dude. That's a good little dude. You got manners, Hugo.
Violence. Jay Prince would argue that he can't control what other people do. He'd say that he's not responsible for every person who claims to be affiliated with mob ties or rap a lot. He'd point out that he's never been convicted of a violent crime, that there's no evidence directly linking him to any of these incidents. Jay Prince would point to his charity work, his support of local artists, his contributions to Houston's culture. He'd say that he's given back more than he's taken and that he's helped more people than he's hurt. And again, there's probably some truth to that. Jay Prince has done positive things. He has helped artists. He has given back to the community. But the question is, does the good outweigh the bad? And can you really call it charity? Most likely scenario, unfortunately, is that nothing changes. Jay Prince continues.
All right, listen. If I win, man, y'all go to YouTube, hit that sub button.
Continue to check in. The system continues to function. Without
Alright.
cooperation from victims, without a major investigation, without political will to
I got a what?
prosecute, Jay Prince remains untouchable. He'll continue to do interviews, continue to build his brand, continue to make money, and the cycle will continue.
Why you want me to give it
If
up,
the feds
gang?
decide to pursue a RICO case against Jay Prince, similar to what they did with Big U, then everything will
what.
change very quickly. A RICO case would allow prosecutors to look at Jay Prince's entire operation, to connect dots that local law enforcement
this
didn't
shit
connect,
free.
to compel testimony from witnesses who've been too afraid to come forward.
This
But
shit,
building a RICO case takes years.
this
It
shit free.
requires extensive resources, and it requires
This shit
political
is
will.
free.
The highest
He
levels
talking
of the
like he's
Justice
something
Department.
good.
Given
This
Jay
shit is
Prince's
free.
connections and his public image, it's not clear if the feds would be willing to take that risk. Maybe the most hopeful scenario is that the culture
This shit is
shifts,
free. We gotta
that
get
artists
we gotta
start
get up
refusing
rebound
to
though.
check in, that the industry starts pushing back against these systems of control. We're already seeing some of that with the backlash against Jay Prince after Takeoff's death. People are asking questions. People are speaking out. If enough artists stand together and say, we're not doing this anymore, then the system loses its power. But that requires courage. It requires solidarity. And it requires artists to be willing to risk their safety and their careers to stand up for what's right. Jay Prince is getting older. He's been in the game for 40 years. At some point,
Wait, there, ping. Oh, they last switching up. They come on, gang. If that's you on my team, gang, don't last switch them, gang. Come on, gang, don't do that, gang.
At the end of the day, this story isn't really about Jay Prince. It's about what we're willing to accept in hip hop culture.
Bro, don't last switch them, gang.
Are we okay with people?
On God, it's not me. On my life, it's not me, gang. On everything I love. They gotta be our big then, gang. I don't know. They gotta be him right there. We about to see. Yeah, that's him.
Just how the game works.
Oh, hey, stay on the court with us, gang. I run over 100.
It's not okay that the jeweler is dead. It's not okay.
Yeah. Oh, bro, that's not me. I swear to God, bro, on my kids, that's not. Bro, on God, that's not me, bro. On everything I love, bro. I could die right now. God strike me down. Whatever they be saying, gang, that's not me. I swear to God, that's not trouble.
How many people have been hurt? How many people have been extorted? How many families have lost loved ones? How much longer are we going to?
That's not me, gang. Bro, my hand, look, come on my stream, bro. My hand is on my controller, gang.
Because we're afraid to speak out.
I don't know him, though, gang. I don't know him.
Knowledge is power. You know the system. The question is, what are you going to do?
Bro, that's not me, though, gang.
Supporting artists and businesses that enable this behavior? Are you going to keep
why would I get out the court, gang?
Justice? Or are you going to speak up? Are you going to demand better? Are you going to say that hip hop culture?
Bro, don't try to get mad at me. It ain't me.
Look, I know this was a heavy video, gang. We covered a lot of dark stuff. Extortion, intimidation, death, corruption. It's not easy to talk about. But these conversations need to happen. We can't keep sweeping this stuff under the rug and pretending everything is okay.
Hey, if I really can't last with you again.
One person. It's bigger than Jay Prince.
That's it. That's it.
It's bigger than any city. It's a global culture.
Come on, Bill, why you last with him?
But if we want hip hop to continue to grow and thrive, we have to hold people accountable. We have to demand better from our leaders, our OGs, our industry executives. We have to say that talent matters more than fear, that art matters.
That's on me. That's on me.
That life matters more than.
Come on, that.
Jay Prince and his sons have allegedly extorted millions from rappers. They've been committing to multiple deaths. They built an empire on fear. But empires fall, gang. They always do. And when this one falls, I hope we build something better in its place. Something based on respect, not fear. Something based on talent, not intimidation. Something based on love for the culture, not love for money. That's the hip hop.
I ain't getting over here, bro. That's on me, bro. I'm doing that. I think he go. I'm doing that. I think he not a last switch, bro.
Misunderstood businessman or a criminal who's been getting away with it for too long. Do you think the feds should investigate him? Do you think the culture needs to change? Let's have a real conversation about this because silence.
I think he fucking me up, gang.
Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video.
Bro, he don't even not a last switch, gang. He doing it wrong.
Don't let fear control your life. Peace.
When they get the ball at the 3-point, they can't let them go in the paint. They go in the paint, that's automatic score. Bro, last switch him at the right time, again.
Yeah, lag switch him as soon as the ball, as soon as we shoot it, lag switch. Lag switch it now.
Now last switch. Now last switch. Last switch it now.
From Yo Gotti sleeping with Gucci's wife to now.
Bro, he's so late. He already got it off. Oh, he shit. Oh God. Hey, bro, I don't know why you got that, gang. You need, hey, gang, you need to take that. You need to, bro. Oh God, you need to take that out. Oh God, you need to stop, gang. You, bro, he suck. He suck. He suck. He suck. This nigga, I ain't gonna lie, we could have beat y'all. I ain't gonna lie, we could have beat y'all. We could have beat y'all, gang. Alright, come on, we don't need him. He's so trash.
So he can join your biggest rival's label. That's exactly what multiple industry sources are saying happened to Gucci Mane. And if these allegations are true, we're not just talking about another rap beef or label dispute. We're talking about armed robbery, kidnapping, and the most calculated betrayal in recent hip-hop memory. The craziest part? This whole situation has been building for over a decade. What started as a petty argument about mixtape release dates turned into a personal war involving stolen wives, funeral controversies,
marriages that's falling apart probably stem from money. You know what I'm saying? When the money funny, you can't really focus. Everybody go for self.
Memphis street politics, and now allegedly federal crimes that could send people back to prison for decades. But here's what makes this story even more insane. Gucci Mane should have seen this.
This nigga last week we still lost. That's crazy.
Literally in his name.
He's sorry with it. I ain't gonna lie. He lucky I ain't got mine.
Relationship. And when that artist's biggest loyalty is to the same city as your worst enemy, you're basically asking for trouble.
Tapping in about it. But the story that's going around that everybody's scared to report on it.
Wanna go to the red?
Is that basically Shiesty and Chopper Gang ran down on Gucci Mane, relieved him of some of his possessions, and basically forced him to sign a contract releasing Shiesty from 1017.
Stay locked in until the end, because I'm about to break down the entire timeline of how Yo Gotti played the longest revenge game in hip-hop history. From sleeping with Gucci Mane's woman while he was locked up, to systematically destroying his Memphis pipeline, to allegedly orchestrating the theft of his biggest star, this is a masterclass in psychological warfare that goes way beyond music.
Other cats, and I said God was cool until he turned into a buster. Right. So I wasn't saying that we wasn't even cool. I said we was cool until this point right here. Right.
By the time I'm done explaining this, you'll understand exactly why the streets are calling this the most disrespectful finesse in rap history and why Gucci Mane might never recover from this level of betrayal. Before we dive into the chaos that's happening right now, you need to understand the foundation of this beef and why it runs so much deeper than typical rap industry drama. This isn't just about two successful artists who don't like each other. This is about respect, territory.
Man, he was last switcher on our team, and we still lost. Nah, that wasn't me, gang. Oh God, that wasn't me last switch. I don't last switch. Come on, join up, gang.
Was still underground when artists had to really live what they
we're going in the red, bro.
Credibility meant everything. Gucci Mane was building his 10-7.
That's not a little kid, gang. You got two more people.
What trap music would become global. Meanwhile, Yo Gotti was establishing himself as the undisputed king of Memphis, a city with its own unique sound and street culture. What made their early friendship so genuine was the mutual respect they had.
Just let me know when you get in, when you trying to play red.
Was a studio gangster or an industry plant. They had both really lived in the streets, understood the game from the ground up, and were using their music to tell real stories about real experiences. Their collaborations weren't just business moves; they were cultural moments. When they drop tracks,
nigga, last week we still lose, gang.
Feel the chemistry. These weren't forced features.
He don't need that.
God,
he don't need that.
Two legends recognizing each other's greatness and creating a music that represented the best of Southern hip hop. They even took it further with joint mixtapes like Definition of a G.
How do I put it on sub mode
Projects
on
were fire, the streets embraced them, and it looked like Gucci Mane and Yo Gotti were about to become hip hop's next power duo. Industry insiders were already talking about potential joint tours, more collaborative projects, and the possibility of them creating their own super label. But in hip hop, friendships can be destroyed by the smallest perceived disrespects. And what happened in October 2012 would prove that even the strongest bonds can be broken when pride and ego get involved. The culture of hip hop is built on respect, authenticity, and loyalty. When those principles get violated,
did you just see me last year? No, you didn't, gang. Stop that
and as
cap.
we're about to see, what started as a simple misunderstanding about release dates would eventually lead to stolen wives, funeral drama, and allegedly armed robbery. October 2012 should have been one of the biggest months in Gucci Mane's career. He had been building anticipation for his new project, Trap God, for weeks, conducting interviews, dropping snippets, and making sure everyone knew that October 17th was going to be a special day. And for Gucci Mane, the 17th wasn't just any random date, it was sacred. See, most people don't understand the significance of the number 17 in Gucci Mane's brand. His label is called 1017 Records, which represents October 17th on the calendar. This date has deep personal meaning for him, and dropping projects on the 17th of any month had become his signature move. It was his way of stamping his identity on the culture and creating a brand that was uniquely his. Gucci Mane had been promoting Trap God as his return to form, a project that would remind everyone why he was considered the godfather of trap music.
Oh, he should have hit the bed.
Was in full swing, the features were locked in, and everything was set for what should have been a triumphant release. Then, out of nowhere, Yo Gotti announced that he was also dropping a mixtape on October 17th. Now, according to Gotti's version of events, he knew Gucci Mane was dropping that day, but he thought it would be incredible for both of them to release projects simultaneously. In his mind, they were brothers in the game, so why not dominate the internet together? He envisioned fans going crazy over having new music from both artists on the same day, with both projects complementing each other and creating a moment that would be remembered in hip-hop history. But Gucci Mane saw the situation completely different. To him, this wasn't collaboration. This was straight up disrespect and wave riding. Yo Gotti was trying to piggyback off the 1017 brand that Gucci Mane had spent years building. He was attempting to profit off Gucci Mane's marketing campaign and steal thunder that rightfully belonged to Trap God. The moment Gotti's announcement hit the internet, Gucci Mane felt violent. This was his day, his brand, his moment. And his supposed friend was trying to crash the party without permission. Yo Gotti immediately recognized that something was wrong and tried to reach out. He called Gucci Mane's phone multiple times, but the calls went straight to voicemail. He hit up people in Gucci Mane's camp, asking them to have their boss call him back so they could talk through the situation. He even tried reaching out through mutual friends and industry connections, but Gucci Mane was giving him the complete silent treatment. Instead of handling the situation privately, Gucci Mane took his frustration to Twitter, which in 2012 was the primary platform for hip-hop drama. His tweet was short but devastating. Why would another artist put their mixtape out on 1017 if they ain't Brick Squad? You ain't me, Trap God. That tweet changed everything. It wasn't just a private conversation between friends anymore. This was public disrespect that the entire hip-hop community could see. Gucci Mane was essentially calling out Yo Gotti for being fake and trying to ride his wave. Yo Gotti was genuinely confused by the response. He had never intended any disrespect, and he couldn't understand why his friend was reacting so strongly to what he saw as a collaborative opportunity. But recognizing that the situation was escalating, he made the decision to move his release date to October 18th, hoping that would resolve the conflict. But the damage was already done. Gucci Mane felt that the very fact that Gotti had announced the same release date showed a fundamental lack of respect for their friendship and his brand. In his mind, a real friend would have called first to discuss the idea, not just announced it publicly and forced him to react. The situation got even more complicated when Gucci Mane brought up another issue that had been bothering him. During a radio interview, he pointed out that Yo Gotti had been working with his enemies, specifically Jeezy and T.I., two artists who Gucci Mane had serious, long-standing beef with. Gotti had recently dropped a remix to his track racks featuring both Jeezy and T.I., and to Gucci Mane, that was another sign of disloyalty. How could someone who claimed to be his friend work so closely with people who had actively tried to destroy his career? But here's where the situation becomes hypocritical. Around the same time, Gucci Mane was working closely with Young Dolph, who happened to be one of Yo Gotti's biggest enemies in Memphis. So both artists were collaborating with each other's ops, but only Gucci Mane was making it a public issue. The double standard was obvious, but Gucci Mane was too deep in his feelings to see it objectively. He felt betrayed, disrespected, and abandoned by someone he had considered a real friend. Things reached a breaking point when Gucci Mane decided to air out all his grievances during a radio interview. My main problem with him is that he dropped his mixtape on 1017 and tried to ride my wave, Gucci Mane said. Why would you drop it if you ain't on 1017? And when I call you as my partner to ask why you did it, you say, oh, I didn't know you were dropping a mixtape. Gucci Mane wasn't buying Gotti's explanation at all. He had been promoting Trap God for months, doing interviews, posting on social media, and making it clear that October 17th was going to be a major moment. There was no way someone as connected as Yo Gotti didn't know about the release date. The public nature of Gucci Mane's complaints made reconciliation almost impossible. Once you air out your problems with someone on the radio, it becomes about more than just the original issue. It becomes about pride, reputation, and who's going to back down first. And once Gucci Mane took the beef public through that radio interview, there was no going back to the friendship they once had. The hip-hop community was watching, fans were picking sides, and both artists felt pressure to defend their positions through the most traditional method of rap culture, diss tracks. Gucci Mane struck first with a song called Birds of a Feather, which was essentially a multi-target diss track aimed at several people who were disappointed. But the line that hit Yo Gotti the hardest,
that sounds loud.
I used to mess with Gotti until he turned into a buster. In hip-hop terminology, calling someone a buster
I got 99 blocks. They tripping. They horning
it
it.
implies that they're fake, weak, and not really about the life they rap about. For someone like Yo Gotti, who had built his entire career on authenticity and street credibility, being called a buster by a respected peer was devastating. The song didn't just attack Gotti's character, it questioned his entire identity as an artist and a man. Gucci Mane was essentially telling the world that he had misjudged Yo Gotti's character and that their friendship had been based on false pretenses. Yo Gotti's initial response showed just how much the diss had hurt him personally. In interviews, he expressed genuine disappointment rather than anger. I'm more disappointed in him than anything because I looked at him differently, Gotti said. What I perceived in him is not what he's playing out. I thought he was a straight-up, stand-up guy, street-type dude, and street dudes don't handle business like that. This response revealed something important about their relationship. It wasn't just a business partnership that had gone wrong. These were two men who had genuinely respected and cared about each other, which made the betrayal feel even more personal. Gotti went on to explain that even people in Gucci Mane's own camp were confused by the diss. Even the dudes in Gucci's camp don't understand why he was dissing me on the record, he said. This suggested that the beef wasn't based on any real.
Oh, they acting like I ain't even died. They gotta stop that. Nah, this is out of control.
Initially, Yo Gotti tried to take the high road. He was hurt, disappointed, and confused, but he didn't want to escalate the situation into a full-blown rap war. He had too much respect for what they had built together, and he hoped that cooler heads would eventually prevail. But as the weeks went by and Gucci Mane continued to take shots in interviews and on social media, Gotti realized that his former friend wasn't interested in reconciliation. The disrespect had become too public and too personal to ignore. Finally, Yo Gotti decided he had to respond. He dropped a diss track called Have Mercy, which was his way of defending his reputation and firing back at Gucci Mane's accusations. The song was hard, direct, and made it clear that their friendship was officially over. Have Mercy didn't just respond to Gucci Mane's disses. It questioned his motives and suggested that he was acting out of jealousy rather than legitimate grievances. Gotti painted Gucci Mane as someone who couldn't handle seeing his friends succeed independently. The exchange of diss tracks marked the point of no return in their relationship. What had started as a misunderstanding about release dates had now become a public rap beef with both artists' reputations on the line. But even at this stage, the beef was still relatively contained. It was about business, respect, and artistic differences. Neither artist could have predicted how personal and destructive things were about to become. The hip-hop community was divided in their reactions. Some fans felt that Gucci Mane was overreacting to what seemed like a minor issue. Others supported his position that Yo Gotti should have shown more respect for the 1017 brand and asked permission before dropping on the same day. Industry insiders were disappointed to see two of the South's biggest stars feuding over what seemed like a resolvable conflict. Many people tried to play peacemaker behind the scenes, but both artists were too proud to back down. What nobody realized at the time was that this public beef was just the beginning. The real betrayal, the one that would make reconciliation impossible, was still to come. Just when it seemed like the beef between Gucci Mane and Yo Gotti might eventually blow over, Gotti dropped a bombshell during a Breakfast Club interview that would change everything forever. What he revealed wasn't just another diss or business dispute. It was a personal violation so deep that it would haunt their relationship for over a decade. During the interview, Yo Gotti casually mentioned that while Gucci Mane was locked up on a probation violation, he had slept with Gucci Mane's girlfriend, Keisha Kaoyer. The way he said it was almost matter of fact, like it was just another part of the story that needed to be told. But for anyone who understands street culture and the unwritten rules of loyalty, what Gotti had just admitted to was unforgivable. There are certain lines you don't cross in the streets, and messing with someone's grooming while they're locked up and can't defend themselves is definitely one of them. Now, it's important to understand the context of Gucci Mane and Keisha's relationship at the time. They weren't married yet, but they had serious history together. Keisha had been in Gucci Mane's life for years, and everyone in their circle knew she was his woman. She wasn't just some random girl. She was someone Gucci Mane genuinely cared about and saw a future with. When Gucci Mane got locked up, Keisha was supposed to hold him down, visit him, and wait for him to come home. That's the expectation in street relationships. Loyalty during the hardest times. Instead, she ended up with his friend, someone who was supposed to respect their relationship and look out for Gucci Mane while he was away. Yo Gotti tried to downplay the situation during the interview. I ain't no like you about to get married or nothing like that. But these explanations just made it worse because they showed a casual attitude about violating his friend's relationship. The "you know how the game go" comment was particularly disrespectful because it suggested that sleeping with your friend's girl while he's locked up is just normal behavior that everyone should accept. But that's not how the game goes for real friends. Real friends protect each other's relationships and respect boundaries even when the other person isn't around to enforce them. What made the betrayal even worse was the timing. Gucci Mane was going through one of the most difficult periods of his life. He was locked up, facing serious legal issues, dealing with addiction problems, and struggling with his mental health.
You watched that tournament today?
He needed his friends the most. The two people he trusted,
that program
his girlfriend and his friend, betrayed him in the worst possible way. When Gucci Mane found out about the betrayal, it sent him into a complete spiral. He was already struggling with legal addiction and mental health issues. But this news pushed him over the edge completely. The combination of betrayal, humiliation, and powerlessness created a perfect storm that would nearly destroy his life. Gucci Mane's reaction was immediate and chaotic. He went on Twitter rants that lasted for hours, attacking not just Yo Gotti and Keisha, but anyone he felt had wronged him. He started beefing with multiple artists simultaneously. Jeezy, T.I., and even Drake and Nicki Minaj got caught in the crossfire of his rage. The tweets were erratic, sometimes incoherent, and clearly coming from someone who was not in a stable mental state. Gucci Mane was lashing out at the world because he felt like everyone had betrayed him. The lean addiction was making his behavior more unpredictable, and the betrayal was eating away at his ability to think clearly. His behavior became so concerning that friends and family started to worry about his safety. On September 13th, 2013, Gucci Mane was hanging out with a friend when he started acting so erratically that his friend called the police for a wellness check. When the officers arrived, Gucci Mane was belligerent and threatened, which led to his arrest. During the arrest, police found weed and a gun on him, which created new legal problems on top of everything else he was dealing with. Sources close to the situation reported that Gucci Mane was hospitalized after the arrest because he was having seizures related to his lean addiction. The situation continued to deteriorate over the following months. Gucci Mane's behavior became increasingly unpredictable. His music suffered, and his business relationships were falling apart. By December 2013, he was facing federal firearms charges as a convicted felon, which carried a potential sentence of up to 20 years in prison. The irony of the situation was devastating. Yo Gotti's betrayal had set off a chain of events that was destroying Gucci Mane's life, career, and freedom. The man who had violated his relationship was thriving while Gucci Mane was facing decades in prison. In 2014, Gucci Mane accepted a plea deal that would keep him behind bars until late 2016. For someone who had been at the top of the rap game just a few years earlier, this represented a complete fall from grace. And at the root of it all was the betrayal by two people he had trusted completely. But here's the most shocking part of the story. When Gucci Mane got out of prison in 2016, he took Keisha back. Not only did he take her back, but he married her. making her Mrs. Gucci Mane. The woman who had betrayed him during his lowest moment became his wife. Some people saw this as forgiveness and growth. Others saw it as a man who was so broken by the betrayal that he was willing to overlook the ultimate disrespect for the sake of love. But regardless of how people interpreted it, the marriage sent a clear message. Gucci Mane was willing to forgive Keisha, but he would never forgive Yo Gotti. Prison changed Gucci Mane in ways that nobody expected. When he went in, he was a lean, addicted, mentally unstable artist whose career was in shambles. When he came out in 2016, he was clean, focused, and had a completely different approach to life and business. But while he had learned to control his emotions and make better decisions, he hadn't forgotten what Yo Gotti had done to him. The old Gucci Mane might have responded to betrayal with violence or chaotic social media rants. The new Gucci Mane was much more calculated and strategic in his approach to revenge. Instead of trying to destroy Yo Gotti directly, he decided to hit him where it would hurt the most: his hometown dominance and his pipeline of new talent. Memphis has always been a hotbed of rap talent, with a unique sound and culture that produces some of the most authentic artists in hip-hop. For years, Yo Gotti had been the primary gateway for Memphis artists trying to make it in the national music industry. His CMG, Collective Music Group label, was the most successful Memphis-based operation, and he had essentially created a monopoly on the city's hip-hop talent. Young Memphis artists looked up to Yo Gotti as the example of what was possible. He had stayed true to his city, built his empire from the ground up, and proved that you didn't have to leave Memphis to achieve national success. This gave him incredible influence over the next generation of Memphis rappers, who saw signing with CMG as the ultimate validation of their talent. But Gucci Mane saw an opportunity to disrupt this system and get his revenge at the same time. He started actively recruiting Memphis artists, offering them better deals, more resources, and access to a larger platform than they could get by staying local. It was a calculated move designed to undermine Yo Gotti's influence in his own city while strengthening 1017's roster. According to Memphis insider Stan G, who broke down the situation during a No Jumper interview, Gucci Mane was using war tactics in his beef with Yo Gotti. Every time he'd get into it with somebody, he locked the city down, Stan G explained. He got into it with Jeezy, locked down Atlanta by signing everybody in Atlanta, got into it with Gotti, signed the whole Memphis. This wasn't just business, this was psychological warfare. Gucci Mane was systematically trying to drain Memphis of its talent, leaving Yo Gotti with fewer options and less influence in his own backyard. Every Memphis artist who signed with 1017 was a direct shot at Gotti's pride in his business model. The strategy was brilliant because it served multiple purposes. First, it gave Gucci Mane access to some of the most authentic and talented artists in the South. Memphis rappers brought a raw, unfiltered energy that complemented 1017's trap sound perfectly. Second, it weakened Yo Gotti's position in his own city, making it harder for him to maintain his status as the king of Memphis hip-hop. But most importantly, it was a form of revenge that was completely legal and business-focused. Gucci Mane wasn't breaking any laws or putting himself at risk. He was just offering better opportunities to talented artists. If those artists chose to leave Memphis for Atlanta, that was their decision. The plan worked better than anyone expected. Gucci Mane successfully signed multiple Memphis artists to 1017, including Big Scar, Enchanting, and most importantly, a young rapper who was starting to make serious noise in the streets, Pooh Shiesty. Each signing was like a chess move in Gucci Mane's long-term strategy. He wasn't just building his roster. He was systematically dismantling Yo Gotti's empire one artist at a time. And the beauty of it was that he was doing it with Gotti's own hometown
That's
talent.
big. He can't
The
shoot.
Memphis
He
hip
that
hop
big.
community was divided by Gucci Mane's aggressive recruitment tactics. Some artists and fans felt that he was an outsider trying to exploit their city's talents for his own benefit. Others saw him as offering opportunities that weren't available locally and felt that artists should go wherever they could get the best deals. Yo Gotti couldn't publicly complain about the situation without looking weak or hypocritical. After all, he had built his own career by leaving Memphis artists behind when better opportunities came along. How could he criticize other artists for making the same choice? But privately, the systematic poaching of Memphis talent had to be incredibly frustrating. Gotti was watching his city's best artists choose Atlanta over Memphis, 1017 over CMG, and Gucci Mane over him. It was a slow-motion destruction of everything he had built in his hometown. The psychological impact of Gucci Mane's strategy was probably even more damaging than the business impact. Every time a Memphis artist signed with 1017, it was a reminder of the betrayal that had started this whole war. Gotti couldn't escape the consequences of sleeping with Gucci Mane's woman because those consequences were playing out in real time through his city's music scene. Gucci Mane's revenge plot was working perfectly, but he was about to make a crucial mistake. In his eagerness to hurt Yo Gotti, he would sign an artist whose loyalty to Memphis would eventually trump his loyalty to 1017, and that artist's name was Pooh Shiesty. When Gucci Mane first heard about Pooh Shiesty, he knew immediately that this was exactly the type of artist who could help him dominate Memphis hip-hop. Pooh Shiesty wasn't just another rapper trying to make it. He was someone whose name was already ringing bells in Memphis for all the right and wrong reasons. Born on Williams, Pooh Shiesty had that raw, authentic street energy that reminded people of early Gucci Mane. He wasn't trying to be pretty with his bars or create radio-friendly music. He was telling real stories about real situations, and that authenticity was exactly what caught Gucci Mane's attention. But Pooh Shiesty wasn't some unknown kid when Gucci Mane discovered him. He already had a buzz in Memphis, already had people talking about his potential, and already had the kind of street credibility that you can't fake or manufacture. What he needed was someone with the industry connections and experience to take him to the next level. The story of how Gucci Mane discovered Pooh Shiesty is actually pretty wild. People who knew both the music game and the street game were telling Gucci about this young cat from Memphis who had bars and credibility. When Gucci finally heard Pooh's music, he knew immediately that this was someone special. The raw talent was undeniable, but more than that, Pooh had that authentic street perspective that you can't fake. In a game full of industry plants and manufactured personas, Pooh Shiesty was the real deal. He had lived the life he was rapping about, and that authenticity came through in every bar. The signing process wasn't some long, drawn-out negotiation. When Gucci Mane wants someone on his team, he moves fast and decisively. He reached out to Pooh directly, and the conversation was straightforward. Gucci saw the potential, Pooh needed the platform, and 1017 needed that Memphis energy. For Pooh Shiesty, signing with Gucci Mane was like hitting the lottery. He went from being a local Memphis artist with limited resources to being part of one of the most respected labels in hip-hop. Suddenly, he had access to top producers, major industry connections, and the full weight of 1017 behind his career. But this wasn't just a business transaction for Gucci Mane. He genuinely took Pooh under his wing, treating him like family rather than just another artist on the roster. Gucci gave him access to his personal network, included him in high-profile collaborations, and made sure he understood the business side of the music industry. The early days of their relationship seemed perfect. Gucci Mane was the veteran mentor who had been through everything and could guide Pooh through the pitfalls of the industry. Pooh Shiesty was the hungry student who was grateful for the opportunity and eager to prove himself worthy of Gucci's investment. Together, they were making music that had both the streets and the industry paying attention. Pooh's debut single Under 1017 was an instant hit, racking up millions of views and establishing him as one of the most promising new artists in hip-hop. The chemistry between mentor and student was obvious, and it looked like they were building something special. Gucci Mane promoted Pooh Shiesty heavily, featuring him on high-profile projects and making sure he got maximum exposure. The So Icy Summer mixtape, which featured multiple 1017 artists, gave Pooh a platform to showcase his talent alongside established stars. His verse on So Icy Boys 2 was particularly impressive, showing that he could hold his own with anyone on the roster. The success was immediate.
I can't laugh
Pooh Shiesty's music videos were getting tens of millions of views. His streaming numbers were impressive, and he was being mentioned alongside the hottest young rappers in the game. For someone who was relatively unknown just months earlier, the rise was meteoric. But success in hip-hop often comes with a price, and for Pooh Shiesty, the price would be his freedom. Just as his career was taking off, he caught a federal case that would put everything on pause. The charges were serious. Firearms violations that could result in significant prison time. And suddenly, the promising young artist was facing the possibility of spending his prime years behind bars. For most artists, this would have been the end of the story. Labels often drop artists to get into legal trouble, especially federal cases that could result in long sentences. The business is too risky, and the investment too uncertain for most executives to stick with artists who might not be able to work for years. But Gucci Mane isn't most label executives. Having been through his own legal troubles and federal case, he understood what Pooh was going through. More importantly, he believed in Pooh's talent and potential enough to stick with him through the difficult times. Throughout Pooh Shiesty's incarceration, Gucci Mane kept his name alive in ways that went above and beyond typical label support. He would mention Pooh in interviews, post about him on social media, and make sure people didn't forget about the young Memphis rapper. This kind of loyalty from a label boss is extremely rare in the industry, and it showed how much Gucci Mane believed in Pooh's potential. The support wasn't just public relations, it was personal. Gucci Mane understood the psychological impact of being forgotten while locked up, and he made sure Pooh knew that he still had a place in the 1017 family when he came home. When Pooh Shiesty finally got released, Gucci Mane was one of the first people to welcome him home publicly. The Instagram post was genuine and heartfelt, Gucci expressing how proud he was of his artist and how excited he was to get back to making music together. The post got over 2 million likes and reminded the hip-hop world that Pooh Shiesty was back and ready to pick up where he left off. But something had changed during Pooh's time away. The young artist who had gone to prison grateful and loyal to Gucci Mane was coming home with different priorities and different loyalties, and those changes would soon destroy everything they had built together. While Pooh Shiesty was locked up, tragedy struck the 1017 family in a way that would have lasting consequences for everyone involved. Big Scar, Pooh Shiesty's cousin, and one of Gucci Mane's most successful artists, passed away from an accidental overdose in 2022. The loss hit everyone hard, but it also created a situation that would damage relationships and plant seeds of resentment that would eventually grow into betrayal. Big Scar wasn't just another artist on the 1017 roster. He was family to Pooh Shiesty and had become like family to Gucci Mane as well. His death was devastating for everyone who knew him, but it was especially hard for Pooh Shiesty, who was locked up and couldn't be there for his cousin's final moments or funeral. When it came time to arrange Big Scar's funeral, Gucci Mane stepped up in a way that seemed to show genuine care and respect for his fallen artist. According to Big Scar's father, the funeral expenses were already covered by insurance, but Gucci Mane called and offered to pay for the entire service himself. This gesture appeared to be coming from the heart. Gucci Mane wanted to honor Big Scar's memory and show the family that their son had meant something to him beyond just business. For a label owner to offer to pay for an artist's funeral is a significant gesture that goes well beyond contractual obligations. The family accepted Gucci Mane's offer, thinking it showed how much he cared about Big Scar and respected their loss. They were grateful for the support during such a difficult time, and it seemed like Gucci Mane was doing everything right to honor his artist's memory.
Please follow the point guard, guys. Somebody step
Financial
up.
arrangements that would later cause serious problems. Gucci Mane sent $10,000 toward the funeral costs, and Atlantic Records, 1017's distribution partner, sent another $10,000, totaling $20,000. However, some family members understood that Gucci Mane would cover the entire cost of the funeral, which was apparently more than the $20,000 that was sent. The confusion might have been resolved quietly if not for what happened next. During Big Scar's funeral, his brother and father were wearing 1017 chains that Big Scar had earned during his time at the label. These chains weren't just jewelry. They were symbols of Big Scar's success and his place in the 1017 family. The family filmed tribute videos during the funeral, showing off the chains and talking about how Big Scar had left his brother with diamonds and left his pops with diamonds. For them, these chains represented some of the last tangible connections they had to their son and brother. But then, according to Big Scar's sister, Gucci Mane asked for the chains back. The request was devastating. In their minds, Big Scar had earned those chains through his hard work and success. They were rightfully his, and by extension, they belonged to his family after his death. The idea that Gucci Mane would ask for them back during their time of grief felt incredibly disrespectful. Big Scar's sister took to social media to express her anger and disappointment. "On my mama, he not getting them chains back," she posted. Before anyone get to speaking on some stuff they don't know about, yes, he asked for the chains back, and no, he not getting them back. My brother earned this stuff. My brother mean everything to us, and for him to do him like that is low down as hell. She went even further, claiming that Gucci Mane had said he couldn't pay for the funeral because his wife's birthday coming up. Whether this was true or not, the accusation painted Gucci Mane as someone who prioritized his wife's birthday over honoring his dead artist. The situation exploded on social media, with Big Scar's family publicly accusing Gucci Mane of being cheap, disrespectful, and fake. The narrative that emerged was that Gucci Mane had promised to pay for the funeral, failed to follow through, and then had the audacity to ask for jewelry back from a grieving family. Gucci Mane's wife, Keisha Kawhi, immediately responded by posting receipts showing the $20,000 that had been sent to the funeral home. The receipts proved that money had been contributed, contradicting the claims that Gucci Mane had refused to pay anything. Big Scar's father eventually stepped in to clarify the situation and defend Gucci Mane. He confirmed that $20,000 had been sent, $10,000 from Gucci, $10,000 from Atlantic Records, and thanked Gucci Mane for his contribution. He also made it clear that certain family members had spoken out of turn and that he appreciated everything Gucci Mane had done for his son. First of all, shout outs to Atlantic Records. Gucci, I send shout outs to him too. He might not like it, but I got to give my boy what he did, man. He gave my son a major chance. Can't let you throw that dude under the bus like that. Come on now. The truth is the truth, Big Scar's father said. Big Scar's brother also made a public apology to Gucci Mane, acknowledging that he had done his part in expressing regret for how the situation had been handled. But he also maintained his disappointment that Gucci Mane hadn't attended the funeral, saying, I know my brother would have wanted you at the funeral. You know what I'm saying? He loved you, bro. The absence at the funeral was another point of contention. Despite paying for part of the service, Gucci Mane didn't actually attend Big Scar's funeral. For the family, this felt like another sign that he didn't really care about their son beyond the business relationship. While the financial and attendance issues were eventually clarified, the chain situation remained unresolved and continued to cause resentment. From the family's perspective, asking for the chains back was the most hurtful part of the entire situation. These weren't just pieces of jewelry. They were symbols of Big Scar's achievements and some of the last things the family had to remember him by. For Pooh Shiesty, watching this situation unfold from prison was incredibly painful and eye-opening. This was his cousin, his family, and he felt like Gucci Mane had disrespected them during their time of grief. The man he had looked up to as a mentor and father figure was asking for jewelry back from his grieving relatives. The funeral controversy planted seeds of doubt in Pooh Shiesty's mind about Gucci Mane's character and priorities. In his view, a real boss would have handled the situation differently. A real boss wouldn't have asked for chains back from a grieving family regardless of the business implications. This situation would prove to be the turning point in their relationship. When Pooh Shiesty eventually came home from prison, he would remember how Gucci Mane had treated his family during their darkest hour. And that memory would influence every decision he made about his future with 1017. When Pooh Shiesty was released from federal prison, the hip-hop world was watching to see how he would restart his career.
Hey, y'all gotta watch the bed. He's sitting pain.
During his
I'm wide open.
incarceration. And there was genuine excitement about what they would create together now that Pooh was free. But for those paying close attention, the signs that something was wrong were there from the very beginning. The first red flag was subtle but significant. Instead of immediately reconnecting with Gucci Mane and the 1017 team, Pooh Shiesty started gravitating toward Memphis connections, specifically toward Yo Gotti and the CMG family. For someone who had been locked up for years, his first instinct should have been to reconnect with the people who had supported him. Instead, he seemed more interested in rebuilding relationships in his hometown. The most obvious sign came through social media, which in today's hip-hop culture is often more revealing than any interview or official statement. Pooh Shiesty started posting about Yo Gotti, showing love to CMG artists, and generally acting like someone who was more aligned with Memphis than Atlanta. In hip-hop, public displays of loyalty matter enormously. When an artist signed to one label starts showing love to a rival, it sends a clear message about where their true allegiances lie. And Pooh Shiesty's social media activity was sending all the wrong messages if he was supposed to be a loyal 1017 artist. But the most telling post came when
y'all gotta watch the bed, man. He ain't playing me till late.
During his release, his father and his videographer. The post read, his dad and his cameraman. The only two in the world that gave me something on my release. No label, no family, no rap dudes or rap bitches, no friends, no homies, not even a nigga on trade day, and I ain't never told. Went like a hoe, not put on, not keep it real, not stand on business, ain't let shit slide. This post was devastating for multiple reasons. First, it directly contradicted the narrative that Gucci Mane had supported him throughout his incarceration. Second, it suggested that Pooh felt abandoned by everyone in the industry, including his own label. Third, it showed a level of bitterness and resentment that indicated serious problems beneath the surface. The no label comment was particularly damaging because it suggested that 1017 hadn't done anything to support him during his release. This was objectively false. Gucci Mane had posted about his release, welcomed him home publicly, and continued to promote him as a 1017 artist. But Pooh's perception was clearly different from reality. Meanwhile, other artists were showing Pooh Shiesty more love than his own label seemed to be providing. Big 30, who was signed to Moneybagg Yo under
It was open at first, though. That's on me. I should have shot that. I thought I ain't think he came.
Out of prison. The optics were terrible. Gucci Mane gave his artist an Instagram post, while Yo Gotti's people showed up in person. But Big 30 didn't stop at just being present for Pooh's release. He also gave him a welcome home gift that made headlines throughout the hip-hop community, $200,000 in cash. The gesture was captured on video and posted on social media, showing Big 30 handing Pooh Shiesty multiple stacks of money as a welcome home present. The symbolism was impossible to ignore. Here was an artist from Yo Gotti's camp giving Pooh Shiesty more tangible support than he was apparently getting from his own label. The $200,000 gift wasn't just generous.
I keep shooting at you right now. I ain't gonna lie. I keep making that dumb shot. That's on me. That's on me. But y'all gotta get that ball back, man. We gonna play point guard. You gotta play point guard, gang. When he that deep in the paint, you gotta come.
Loyalty and support during their own personal struggles, writing, I can't thank you enough for helping me sober up and get that monkey off my back. I got to give you your flowers in public because you'll never brag on being yourself. The post continued. And that's a real dude. Shout out to God. He gave us another chance to take over 100 Infinity. Nobody got my back like my dog. Everything I said about you, blood. Pooh Shiesty. Hashtag creating more opportunities. The creating more opportunities hashtag was particularly interesting because it suggested that new opportunities were being discussed, opportunities that might not involve 1017. Another concerning sign was the music Pooh Shiesty was releasing. Instead of songs that showed growth, maturity, or lessons learned from his federal case, he dropped tracks like FDL, where he was still talking about riding around with guns and living the street life. This wasn't the behavior of someone who had learned from their mistakes and was trying to stay out of trouble. The fact that he was still glorifying the same lifestyle that had gotten him locked up in the first place suggested that federal prison hadn't changed his mindset at all.
I ain't gonna lie. Hey, shooting guard, you can't run from that, gang. You gotta come get him.
To change his life completely. This had to be disappointing and concerning. But perhaps the most telling sign was what Pooh Shiesty wasn't doing. He wasn't posting about 1017, wasn't showing love to Gucci Mane, and wasn't acting like someone who was grateful for the support he had received during his incarceration. Instead, he seemed resentful, bitter, and more interested in Memphis connections than Atlanta loyalty. Industry insiders who were paying attention could see that the relationship between Pooh Shiesty and Gucci Mane was deteriorating rapidly. The question wasn't whether they would have problems. It was how those problems would manifest and how destructive they would become. Unfortunately, the answer to that question would prove to be more shocking and violent than anyone could have predicted. What allegedly happened next sounds like something out of a crime movie, but according to multiple sources in the hip-hop community, the truth is even more shocking than fiction. The story that has been circulating through industry insiders, bloggers, and street sources is that Pooh Shiesty didn't just leave 1017. He allegedly robbed Gucci Mane at gunpoint to force his release from the label. The alleged incident reportedly took place at a recording studio in Dallas, where Pooh Shiesty and Gucci Mane had arranged to meet and discuss their business relationship. According to sources, what was supposed to be a conversation about Pooh's future with 1017 turned into something much more sinister. The story, as it's been told by various sources who claim to have inside knowledge, goes like this. Pooh Shiesty came to the meeting with some rolling 60s Crips from his circle. The conversation started normally, but quickly became heated as Pooh expressed his frustrations about the Big Scar situation, his treatment by the label, and his desire to explore other opportunities. According to the allegations, when Gucci Mane refused to release Pooh from his contract, or when the conversation went in a direction Pooh didn't like, the situation escalated dramatically. Sources claim that Pooh's associates pulled guns on Gucci Mane and his security team, creating a hostage situation in the studio. The most shocking part of the allegations is what happened next. Sources claim that Gucci Mane was forced to give up his personal jewelry, including his watch and his wedding ring. The same wedding ring that represents his marriage to the woman Yo Gotti had slept with years earlier. The symbolism of taking that specific piece of jewelry couldn't have been accidental, but the jewelry wasn't the main objective. According to the allegations, the real goal was to force Gucci Mane to sign paperwork releasing Pooh Shiesty from his 1017 contract. The sources claim that Gucci Mane was held at gunpoint until he agreed to let Pooh out of his deal so he could sign with Yo Gotti's CMG. If these allegations are true, this would represent one of the most disrespectful and dangerous betrayals in hip-hop history. We're not just talking about an artist leaving a label for better opportunities. We're talking about armed robbery, kidnapping, and extortion. The story has been corroborated by multiple independent sources, which gives it more credibility than typical industry rumors. Tasha K, a prominent blogger with connections throughout the industry, tweeted, Yes, allegedly Gucci Mane was kidnapped by Pooh Shiesty and held at gunpoint until he signed a contract releasing him from his Death Row Records 2.0 situation. A very strong source connected to the situation called me and filled me in. She continued. There was no confirmed robbery, just an alleged contract release so Pooh could freely sign to Yo Gotti on Monday. I'll drop the rest of the deets. This is allegedly the real reason Pooh Shiesty was arrested, and they're allegedly trying to cover it up. Adam, 22, from No Jumper also confirmed that he had heard similar stories from multiple industry sources. During the podcast, he said, I'm telling you, the whole music industry has heard this rumor. Everybody's heard this rumor, and nobody can confirm 100%. So maybe there is a real sincere effort to keep it low key, but it's not like this is being swept under the rug. He continued, I hit a couple industry insiders just to get their thoughts like, yo, you think this is true? They all heard the same rumor as me, and they all weren't able to confirm 100%. I don't think y'all understand, bro, like how many people in the industry has heard. Probably almost everybody in the industry has been told, oh yeah, that happened, bro. But nobody is really brave enough to come forward and say Gucci Mane got robbed and kidnapped because nobody really want to put their name on this 100%. The reluctance of industry insiders to go on record about the allegations makes sense given the serious nature of the claims. If the story is true, we're talking about federal crimes that could result in decades in prison for everyone involved. Nobody wants to be the person who provides evidence that could be used in a criminal case. But the most compelling evidence that something happened is Gucci Mane's response to the situation. Remember that heartfelt welcome home post he made for Pooh Shiesty when he got out of prison? The one that got over 2 million likes and reminded everyone that Pooh was back? That post has been deleted. Not only has the welcome home post been removed, but all traces of Pooh Shiesty have been scrubbed from Gucci Mane's social media accounts. For someone who had been promoted as one of 1017's biggest stars, Pooh Shiesty has been completely erased from the label's online presence. This kind of complete removal doesn't happen over normal business disputes or creative differences. When artists leave labels on good terms, there's usually some acknowledgement of their contributions and well wishes for their future. When artists leave on bad terms, there might be some subtle shade or passive-aggressive posts, but complete erasure suggests something much more serious happened. The timing of the alleged incident also makes sense given the other events that were happening. Pooh Shiesty had been showing increasing loyalty to Memphis and CMG. He had been expressing resentment about his treatment by 1017, and he had been receiving more support from Yo Gotti's camp than his own label. If Pooh Shiesty had decided he wanted out of his 1017 contract to sign with CMG, and if Gucci Mane had refused to release him, the situation could have escalated quickly. Federal prison hadn't changed Pooh's street mentality, and he had already shown that he was willing to use violence to solve his problems. The involvement of rolling 60s Crips also fits with what we know about Pooh Shiesty's connections. He had maintained his street relationships throughout his incarceration, and these weren't people who would hesitate to use violence if they felt it was necessary. Whether the allegations are completely true, partially true, or completely false, one thing is certain. The relationship between Pooh Shiesty and Gucci Mane is over, and it ended in a way that has shocked the entire hip-hop industry. Regardless of exactly what happened in that Dallas studio, the outcome is clear. Yo Gotti has successfully executed the longest revenge plot in hip-hop history. After more than a decade of warfare that began with a simple disagreement about release dates, Gotti has managed to steal Gucci Mane's most promising artist and potentially humiliate him in the process. The victory is complete on multiple levels. First, Yo Gotti has acquired one of the most talented young rappers in the game. Pooh Shiesty brings authentic street credibility, a loyal fan base, and the kind of raw talent that can't be manufactured. For CMG, signing Pooh represents both a business win and a symbolic victory over their biggest rival. Second, Gotti has successfully defended his territory. Despite Gucci Mane's aggressive recruitment tactics and attempts to drain Memphis of its talent, the city's biggest star has chosen to come home. Pooh Shiesty's decision to align with CMG sends a message to other Memphis artists that hometown loyalty still matters and that they don't need to leave the city to achieve success. Third, and perhaps most importantly, Gotti has gotten his ultimate revenge for the years of disrespect and attempts to undermine his Memphis empire. The man who had tried to steal his city's talent has now lost his biggest star to that same city. The psychological impact of this reversal has to be devastating for Gucci Mane. The irony of the situation is almost poetic. Gucci Mane's revenge plot against Yo Gotti, which involves signing Memphis artists to hurt Gotti's hometown dominance, has backfired spectacularly. The very strategy he used to attack his enemy has now been turned against him. But the victory comes with significant risks for everyone involved. If the robbery allegations are true, Pooh Shiesty has committed federal crimes that could send him back to prison for decades. Armed robbery, kidnapping, and extortion are serious charges that carry mandatory minimum sentences. For someone who just got out of federal prison, allegedly committing more federal crimes would be incredibly stupid and self-destructive. The timing of the alleged incident also raises questions about Pooh Shiesty's decision-making abilities. He had just been released from a federal case involving firearms and violence, and his first move was allegedly to commit more crimes involving firearms and violence. Either the allegations are false, or Pooh Shiesty learned absolutely nothing from his time in prison. For Yo Gotti, the situation is also potentially problematic. If he was involved in planning or encouraging the alleged robbery, he could face serious legal consequences as well. Conspiracy charges in federal court are no joke, and prosecutors love to go after high-profile targets like successful rap moguls. The hip-hop community's reaction to the situation has been mixed. Some people are shocked by the allegations and can't believe that an artist would rob his own mentor. Others are pointing out that Gucci Mane should have seen this coming, given Pooh Shiesty's name and history. The Shiesty in Pooh Shiesty's name literally means untrustworthy or deceitful. When you sign an artist with a warning label built into his stage name, you're essentially asking for trouble. Gucci Mane was so focused on his revenge plot against Yo Gotti that he ignored the obvious red flags about Pooh's character and loyalty. Industry veterans who have worked with both Gucci Mane and Pooh Shiesty are caught in an awkward position. Many of them understand the business pressures and personal conflicts that led to this situation, but they can't publicly support what allegedly happened. Armed robbery crosses a line that even the most street-oriented industry figures can't defend. The Memphis hip-hop community is also divided in their reactions. Some people are supporting Pooh Shiesty for choosing his hometown over Atlanta money. Others feel that he handled the situation completely wrong and that you can rep your city without disrespecting the people who helped you get there. Atlanta artists have predictably sided with Gucci Mane. The city's hip-hop community is tight-knit, and disrespecting one of their legends is seen as disrespecting all of them. The alleged robbery has created a rift between Atlanta and Memphis that could have lasting consequences for collaborations and business relationships. The situation has also highlighted the ongoing tensions between different regions in Southern hip-hop. The loyalty to city and region often trumps business relationships, and artists are increasingly choosing hometown connections over industry opportunities. For Gucci Mane personally, this situation represents a devastating blow to his reputation and his business model. He had built 1017 into one of the most respected labels in hip-hop by discovering and developing talent. But if his biggest star can allegedly rob him and force his way out of the contract, what does that say about his ability to manage artists and maintain loyalty? The psychological impact of the alleged robbery goes beyond just business. If the allegations are true, Gucci Mane was humiliated and victimized by someone he had treated like family. The betrayal cuts deeper than just financial losses. It's a personal violation that challenges his entire identity as a boss and mentor. The fact that his wedding ring was allegedly taken adds another layer of personal insult. That ring represents his marriage to Keisha Kaoya, the same woman Yo Gotti had slept with years earlier. Taking that specific piece of jewelry feels like a deliberate attempt to remind Gucci Mane of his past humiliations and current vulnerabilities. This whole situation represents much more than just a business dispute between a label owner and his artist. It's a case study in loyalty, revenge, regional pride, and the consequences of holding grudges in an industry where personal relationships and business interests are inseparably intertwined. The story begins with a fundamental misunderstanding about respect and territory. When Yo Gotti announced his release date on the same day as Gucci Mane's Trap God, he probably genuinely thought it would be a collaborative moment that would benefit both artists. But Gucci Mane saw it as a violation of his brand and an attempt to profit off his marketing efforts. This initial conflict reveals something important about hip-hop culture. Respect is often more valuable than money, and perceived disrespect can destroy relationships that took years to build. Both artists were successful enough that the financial impact of competing release dates was minimal, but the symbolic impact was enormous. The escalation from business dispute to personal betrayal shows how quickly situations can spiral out of control when pride and ego get involved. Yo Gotti's decision to sleep with Keisha Kaoya while Gucci Mane was locked up transformed a professional disagreement into a personal war that would last for over a decade. The betrayal also highlights the vulnerability that comes with incarceration. When you're locked up, you're dependent on the loyalty of people on the outside to protect your interests, your relationships, and your reputation. Gucci Mane trusted both his girlfriend and his friend to respect those boundaries, and both of them violated that trust in the worst possible way. Gucci Mane's response to the betrayal, his systematic attempt to drain Memphis of its talent, shows both the power and the limitations of revenge in the music industry. While he was successful in signing several Memphis artists and disrupting Yo Gotti's hometown dominance, his strategy ultimately backfired because it was based on business calculations rather than genuine relationships. The Memphis artists that Gucci Mane signed were never really his artists. They were Memphis artists who happened to be signed to his label. When the time came to choose between Atlanta money and Memphis loyalty, they chose home. This reveals something